Hi, this is Annie Grace, and welcome to This Naked Mind podcast. I'm here today with Molly, who's going to share her story. Welcome, Molly. So happy to have you here.
Hi, thank you. Good to be here.
Oh, I love your accent. Where are you from?
I'm originally from North Carolina, but I live in South Carolina.
Awesome. That's so cute. I love
A
it.
Southern accent going on.
So why don't you just kind of take us back to the beginning? Like where did it all start for you?
Okay. The funny thing is that I had to write everything down. Like I had to go back because I just couldn't remember years and like exact years and things like that. So if I keep looking over, I was writing down like the time for some of this. So it I feel like I have to start by saying that for a while it always seemed to be food related. Not that I ever had major problems with food, and as a kid I was fine, and even as a teenager it was fine. But I feel like there was always like once I got into college, I realized like, oh, I could run or I could join a gym, and like that's kind of when it started to be, oh, I need to lose weight. So food was always my thing. Like I felt like I ate for comfort, I ate too much, and I ate when it was emotional and things like that. Um, and there was like this little time period. Well, I guess starting back too, I'm sorry. When I was a kid, growing up, my house was fine. I mean, we drank sweet tea and Coke and Mellow Yellow. I don't ever remember, there were not wine glasses at the dinner table or anything like that with my parents. The most exciting thing I saw, or what I thought was exciting, was when if my mom made a strawberry daiquiri and I got to have a virgin one, but I just knew that it was gross tasting. And in high school, I did the usual, Zima and wine coolers, but it's just what you did. But I didn't do anything excessive. And college was the basic, just college. My freshman year was, I was proud of how much beer I could drink to keep up with the boys, but it was just all fun. And throughout college, it was all fun. But then there was a period where my husband and I, like the market was good, and my husband and I had built our first house and moved out there. The plans were we're going to live here for 12 years and have 8 babies and whatever happens, and we're going to live here forever. And at that time, my husband said, well, if you don't want to work, you don't have to. And I just thought that was a no-brainer. I was like, well, yeah, I don't have to work. I'm not going to work. But then I kind of found myself experimenting with food. This was sort of when the gluten-free craze was in, and a little bit of starting to be dairy-free. And I always said that I had, I don't know, stomach issues. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to do some testing and see, well, if I go gluten-free, what is it going to be like? If I go dairy-free, what is it going to be like? And it's almost like, long story short, it ballooned into an obsession. And,
Mm.
my husband said maybe it was because I didn't have anything to do. I mean, I don't know. Because at the time, I didn't think that there was anything wrong with it. I thought I was being healthy. I thought it was normal. I had my stuff together. But, I got to where every meal I was obsessed about no gluten and no dairy, every single meal. And I was eating lots of little meals a day. And it just became everything. But I didn't think it was an obsession. It was just like, it's fine, I'm healthy. And I was exercising too. So of course I lost weight and got thin. And in my brain, it was like, I got this figured out. Why doesn't everybody else know how to do this? And then nobody would be fat. And, that sounds horrible. It was just the way that I was thinking. But I mean, it didn't last. That wasn't lasting because it was so strict. And I didn't realize it, but all of a sudden I just started craving things. Probably because my body was like, you got to feed me something. And then it turned into, I'd eat 4 bowls of Cocoa Krispies after I'd already had breakfast, and then I'd go exercise it off. So it just became this nasty little thing. that I'd never experienced before. And I know I was drinking at that time, but that wasn't my focus. My focus was food. So I gained weight back that I had lost, plus a few pounds. But I had read Portia de Rossi's book, the actress, and I remember on Oprah, and I wasn't able to watch the Oprah interview, but I read her book. And though I wasn't as extreme as her, there was so much of her story and so much of the emotional side of it that I was doing. Mm-hmm. And so I read the book and I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know this, but like, this is what I was doing, except I didn't get to 85 pounds or I wasn't that extreme, but I just thought, holy crap, like that was what I was doing. I didn't realize it. So,
like, you mean in terms of that level of attempting to control everything?
Yeah, no, I thought I was being healthy. I was right. Like, this healthy and I'm exercising. But I mean, I did the same type of exercise on this certain day, the same reps, and if I didn't do it, it would stress me out. And then obviously when it turned into, I was eating in secret and then exercising in secret, which, clearly is a problem. But at the time, I just thought, I just got to control myself and just get it together. Like, I didn't really understand what was happening, but it was happening and I couldn't stop it. And then clearly it just got to a point where I was like, well, I've already gained the weight. I can't do anything about this. And then read her book. And it was just kind of like this aha moment. I thought, well, okay, I've gained the weight. I'm eating like I normally do now. I see what happened. Okay. And I guess about that time, maybe towards the end of it, after I'd started to gain the weight, was about the time too that the market crashed. Kind of the recession, if you will. So the business that my husband had started, where I didn't have to work, was very market dependent. And so it was kind of like, well, we're either going to survive and keep the business afloat, or we can keep our house. So we chose to keep the business because we wanted to stay afloat. So we, lost our house and then started like a new branch of the business just to keep afloat. So then I started working again, which was great because it was good to get the business going. But I think that's when the alcohol started to come in as a different thing. So in my mind, I kind of had a hold on the food.
And did you,
like, okay.
How many, you had kids at this time?
No, we didn't have any children.
Okay.
No, just a dog.
Which is interesting because I ask because of how much, if you're not working, how much time alone you have and what you do to kind of fill that time, right? Because it's like a interesting thing, especially with the food. So I think that through.
Yeah. So the work, obviously was a new side of the business, and it was like, you're all in. You gotta work every day. We got to get it done, and we got to do what we need to do, which was fine because we had to get it going and we had to get things moving. I kind of laughed because I got my first BlackBerry, so I could look at email in my car, and when I was out, in the field with what we did, I was all excited about that. But obviously, it was really stressful. And it wasn't about losing our house, the stress. Like, we knew that there were lots of people that were way, way worse than we were. Like, we had a roof, we were fine. But it was just the work, and it was the business that was every day and all day long. And so it's kind of like I didn't know how to deal with the stress, and I didn't know how to relax at night because you kind of couldn't relax at night. You might have had to answer phone calls or write emails at 7 or 8 o'clock. I was like, well, we just drank. Like, I just drank because it's just, that relaxed me, but still allowed me to maybe work if I needed to. But I wasn't thinking about it. I didn't think that there was nothing wrong in my mind necessarily, but I know that it definitely started about that time. So I think 2009, was when we had started that business. And then our our daughter was born in 2012. And we just have one child now. We're one and done. So 2012, she was born. I had no problems not drinking, when I got pregnant. I mean, that wasn't even a thought in my head. I remember my doctor saying I could drink if I wanted. And I tried maybe a sip one night and just thought, oh, this is disgusting. And then after she was born was when the whole stress level with the work and the job and then her combined, like really ramped up. So as soon as I could drink, after I had her, it was like, yeah, I need wine. Like, I need this. This is a necessity. And there are lots of pictures of, me holding her with her bottle and I can see the glass on the table, or and tell by my red cheeks that I was drinking. And I just know I was, because it was like, yeah, it's been an insane day. And then we have her. I need wine. Even though she was a good baby, it was just, it's new, it's stressful, it's just like, oh, what are we going to do? And then you're still dealing with having to always look at your phone and work stuff and whatever, usual things. So, and around the time that she was born, or maybe a couple of years after, I started to get into triathlons. I'd always been running. I'd always done running races and half marathons and things like that. But we started to do triathlons, and we did some short distance ones here in our hometown. And then we started training for longer ones, like what's called a half Ironman distance race. And so we had one, I have to look at the date, that was in 2015. And throughout all the training, I was still drinking wine like normal. I didn't think it was excessive, it was just fun. I just enjoyed drinking. And I always prided
myself. Part of the running culture, by the way. I mean, it really is. When I was running half marathons and stuff, it was absolutely part of the whole running culture to have alcohol. Carb load the night before. I remember doing that, like with the beers. And then right after the race was done, replenish with the beer. It was like such a thing,
Yes, it's been fascinating to notice that with triathlons, and especially longer distance ones, they're not really into that. But for running races, it's everywhere. It's everywhere, and it is baffling. And even when I was drinking, I didn't want a beer after I did a race. I was like, oh, this is disgusting. But I would want it maybe that night, but I wouldn't want it after the race. So we were in Texas for this first race that I was doing, this long distance one that I'd never done before. And again, we always drank. And so 2 nights before the race, I had partied like we were in college. I mean, we were just having a good time and drinking a lot of wine. And so that next day, the day before my very first race, I just had a massive hangover. I just remember, waking up, and you just know that feeling as soon as you wake up. And I thought, oh my God, I feel horrible. But I'm going to go have breakfast, drink coffee, eat bacon, whatever nasty stuff I can eat, and I'll be fine. And sitting there with my husband at breakfast, I was just trying not to throw up. And he's fine. I mean, I don't even remember if he felt gross. He seemed to be totally fine. And I do remember sitting there thinking, I'm getting ready to do my very first half Ironman race, and I am completely hungover, like nasty, where I need to go to sleep. And this is so stupid. But I just moved about the day and ate a bunch of greasy, who knows what kind of stuff. And then even that night at dinner, I had like 2 glasses of wine. And then the next day I got up and did the race. And it was like, okay. But I was able to finish the race and subsequent races. So it sort of, maybe cemented in my mind, like, well, it's not really affecting me. Like, I can still do the race. I still felt good. I still pushed hard. So it's okay. I'm just doing what everybody does. I'm just drinking my wine. And of course you can drink wine and train, it's totally normal. Of course you could do that. But, and then it was just funny. It was like, yeah, well, Molly had a hangover a couple of days before her first race, ha ha ha. And of course, looking back on it, you're like, it's really not that funny. but at the time it was funny. And the following year, we did another half Ironman in Florida. So we drove to it and had rented a house and took my parents and our daughter. And of course, our grocery store stop included getting wine because we knew we were going to drink it like normal. The drive to Florida, I had a hangover and I was eating chips in the back seat. And I remember texting my friend, again, it's funny, because I texted my friend saying something like, well, there's nothing like going to a half Ironman race and having a hangover, ha ha, and she wrote back something funny too. So did the race, fine. So again, it sort of cements like it's not a big deal if you're drinking and training. You can totally do it. So nothing, I wasn't being affected by it, except obviously I was having hangovers, but from a race standpoint,
right.
And again, I felt healthy. I was like, yeah, I'm healthy. I'm doing all this exercise and look at what I can do. And I still drink and it's no big deal. It's totally normal. I think this is what everybody does. But then when I started looking back at, basically I started looking back at my Amazon account because to see like, what was I buying? Because I know that at some point I started purchasing a lot of stuff, which means I started really thinking about alcohol and maybe started to question it. And I think probably in 2015, which is when I did my first half Ironman and had the hangover, I think that's when, even though I wouldn't admit it to myself, I think I was starting to question it. Like I had a couple of purchases of like mood boosting vitamins, because I just remember always feeling kind of not depressed, but just a little bit low and just feeling like I have no reason to feel like this. So maybe I should try some vitamins and just see if it does anything. And then I remember too that I listened to the book Alcohol Lied to Me. Yeah, that was the name of it. I listened to that. And the funny thing is that I know that I purchased your book on my Kindle, but I deleted it. And that's like a whole other story too. Yeah. Because number one, I wasn't going to buy the paper book and sit in my bed and read it because then I would have to talk. I was like, there's no way in hell I'm doing that. But I'm totally going to get it on the Kindle because I can just flip through and it's kind of hidden. Because I remember highlighting a ton of stuff in the book. But then at some point I deleted it and I don't know when I deleted it. And I don't know why. I guess I was afraid. He never looks at the Kindle, but I don't know if I was thinking he would see it and I was trying to hide something. I don't know. So I don't have an exact remembrance of when I got it, but I know I got it because I just vividly remember all the highlights and thinking, oh my God, this is like genius and this is it. But it didn't change anything though. But I agreed and understood everything that was in there. It just didn't change anything inside me, which was interesting. And then what did I do? Oh, I forgot to mention too. I'm sorry. That's why my memory is bad. Probably starting in like 2014, I was, even though my food was under control and all that was fine, I was consistently taking those little Garcinia something tablets that are supposed to be fat burners. I don't even know if they do anything, but I was like obsessed with them. And I was telling myself, well, yeah, my food's under control, but I'm still taking these little 2 quote vitamins every day to help with fat loss or fat burning while I'm exercising. So that was kind of looking back on it, because I don't take them anymore, that's kind of a hypocritical thing. Like I was afraid to let go of those because I was afraid that was maybe the reason why I was quote thin. So you could see I still had like a little bit of something going on in my head about my body or food or whatever. And then, oh my God, 2016 and 2017 is where it just like ramped up. Like the list of what I was buying and things that I was listening to just completely ramped up. So in 2016 and 17, I was clearly like in the thick of you know, if I found myself searching for a book about drinking alcohol, obviously I was thinking that I had a problem going on, but I was never admitting to myself, well, I have a problem. I was never saying that. It was just like, well, I'm just curious. Or well, I just want to read this woman's story because I'm just curious. But the whole story is about her struggle with alcohol. So, but I was just never able to tell myself or admit to myself, this is really what's going on. And all the while still drinking my normal amount every night. But it was just interesting. Like, I read the book A Happier Hour. You know, I was buying memoirs of triathletes that talk about living, you know, fearlessly and living your best life, and little like inspirational stories like that. Like, I was like reaching and grabbing for anything, any sort of inspiration to make me feel better. Who else did I do? I was getting like essential oils for relaxation, and read Her Best Kept Secret, Why Women Drink. I got Elizabeth Vargas's book, her memoir, and listened to that like 3 times, I think. And with all the audiobooks and things that I was listening to, because again, it had to be an audiobook. I wasn't going to sit in bed at home. Well, number one, I was drinking, so I knew I couldn't read it at night. I wouldn't remember anything. And I didn't want my husband to see what I was reading. So an audiobook or something I could download on iTunes was perfect, because I could just listen in my car on my own. And I just kept, I think what I was doing was I was wanting to find that Portia de Rossi story when I had the food problems. I wanted to find like this aha moment. And I just felt like I read everything that was out there. Because even in 2017, I got Kick the Drink by Jason Vale. I did the Quit Drinking by Alan Carr. I got your book again, and I think I put it on audio so I could listen to it again, because I deleted the Kindle version and didn't have it anymore. And got a juice plan book. You know, I was like, maybe I just need to drink juices that are good for me. And so I think you see a pattern. It's like, good God, like all the money that I spent, I don't even know all the money that I spent. I was trying to buy something or listen to something that would just make me feel better. But nothing, I had no reason to feel bad. And I wasn't putting it together that it was all the drinking that was making me feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like one of the worst stories was when, I have to look at the date again, in 2016, in late 2016, we had to evacuate for a hurricane. And we've had a few of those the last couple of years. Obviously, it's really stressful. You know, not only is it personal, but our job would be affected, our business and stuff too, if anything literally were to happen. So clearly it's a stressful thing. And during this evacuation, my husband went with our company to somewhere else, and some other people with our company. And then me and my daughter went to my parents in North Carolina. So we were separated. And leading up to the day that we were going to evacuate, I know that I was drinking like crazy. And so the night before, I vividly remember drinking wine. I remember drinking it very fast and not thinking in my head, I'm really stressed out and I'm freaked out. I was just drinking it really fast. But I know internally I was really freaked out, because obviously the concept of leaving and being away from my husband, and are we going to lose our house? Are we going to lose our business? But went to bed, and we knew that we were going to have to get up really early in the morning to just start driving to try to avoid traffic. And got up early, and I remember feeling really gross and just kind of being like, okay, well, you know, this has happened before, so just have a greasy breakfast and you'll be fine. And got on the road, and even getting on the road was a little bit of a panic, because there were, at 4:30 in the morning, there were like lines at the gas stations, and you could just feel the panic in the air. And so that's really stressful. But I'm trying not to show anything to my daughter, because I don't want her to be freaked out. We're just going to grandparents' house. But basically, I had a massive hangover the drive there. And I stopped not far out of our town at a rest stop because I was like, okay, maybe I just need to get a Diet Coke and some chips, because that was my go-to when I had a bad hangover, was a diet drink, because that's healthy. I don't want the calories from a regular Coke, heaven forbid, and Doritos or something. And so I thought, okay, well, that'll be just what I need. But long story short, I ended up making about 4 stops along the way, literally pulling over on the interstate because I was about to throw up. And I know I don't mean to laugh, but I pulled over on the interstate and I'm on the other side of the car. I didn't actually throw up, but I'm trying to throw up as my daughter's looking out the window at me and these cars are whizzing by. And I'm just thinking, yeah, this is it. But most of my mind was saying, well, you just have a migraine because you're stressed out, not hungover. I mean, yeah, it was probably a little bit of the wine, Molly, but you're really stressed out and you have a migraine. Be honest here. So I had to make 3 more stops. And my last stop, I ended up throwing up in a box in my car. And my daughter was helping me clean up. And then texted my mom when I got home and said, I have a sick headache and I need to go to sleep when I get home, when I get to your house. And she was awesome and stuff. And didn't drink that night, of course. But then the next night I had wine, because the next day I just felt like I'm fine. Nothing's wrong. Everything's great.
It's amazing how short term our memory is for that. I totally relate. It's like so short term,
But even though I wasn't admitting it to myself, yeah, it was so stressful because the Weather Channel's playing all day long. I just want to know what's going on. And then it's just like chugging the wine. Like, it's just bring it on. I don't know what else to do. So I guess that was about October. And not long after that, I remembered, and around this time too, mind you, I drank every night, basically the same amount. It would depend on the nights, but usually every single day I would wake up with some form of hangover. Whether it was super debilitating and I couldn't function was pretty rare, but for the most part, every day I woke up with some form of hangover. And so every morning it was an immediate assessment, like, okay, how bad do you feel? How bad are you going to talk to yourself? Because that was basically it every morning too. Like, well, you're a complete idiot. Look at what you did again. Why do you feel so bad? I'm not going to drink anymore. This is ridiculous. And then at 3:00, okay, I really need the wine. We're getting wine tonight, right? We're going out to eat. We're going to drink, or you do get wine at the grocery store, right? Like, this is all going in through my head. Just this crazy, from 7:30 in the morning to 1 or 2, I was fine. And maybe that day I was really hungover and was eating chips and drinking diet stuff all day. But then when 3-4 o'clock hit, it was like, oh my God, I need wine again. Like, I'm in panic mode if we're not drinking tonight. Like, I'm in panic mode. I need my wine. And obviously that was exhausting to have that in my brain every single day. So yeah, it was a consistent, every day I woke up with some form of a hangover. And it's like, I just got used to feeling like crap every day to some degree. Meanwhile, I was still training for races. We were still active. We still exercise. And, it was always kind of a joke too, to be like, well, there's no better way to get rid of a hangover than to sweat it out. But, there was a few mornings I remember driving to the pool really early in the morning to go for a practice swim. And there was one in particular where, I just had a horrible hangover. And this is just a regular weekday. And I got in the pool and I was like, I'm about to puke. Like, I have to go home. And then just went home. But all that stuff did was just make me feel really bad about myself, which then made me want to drink more at night. It didn't, didn't ring a bell or say, maybe you should stop drinking. But after the evacuation, experience, it made me want to open up to my husband a little bit more, because there was one instance in particular where I was leaving our work to go get our daughter from school, and I remember being hungover, and this was still at like 4:00 in the afternoon. I still felt bad, and I had this massive, massive dizzy spell in my car, and I had to pull over because I couldn't see straight, and I had to pull over on the side of the road and let it pass, and then start driving again. And even in that instance, like, thank God no one was behind me, no one was in front of me, like my daughter wasn't in the car, and nothing happened. I don't know why that happened. Maybe it was dehydration or something, I'm not really sure. But so not long after that, I told my husband that I had to say it in a text message to start, because I'm not really good at talking about my feelings and opening up about stuff like that. It's really hard. So I had a text message first, and then later that night we talked about it. And I was able to open up to him a little bit about what was going on and what I was feeling. And he said that he had noticed that I was maybe drinking faster than I normally would, or drinking more than I normally would. And around that time, I stopped for a little bit. I stopped for maybe a couple weeks. I don't think it was a month. And I remember it being okay, but it was still really stressful. It was like it was okay if I was home, but if we left, it was really hard. And we go out to eat a lot, so it was a little challenging for that, in that aspect. But so when was that? Yeah, so 2016, this is when I stopped for like a few weeks. And then my husband and I were going to New York City for the first time that year. We were going to go for his birthday, and I was really excited about it. Also, too, because we have one of those Peloton bikes at home, and we were going to go to the studio there.
I have one of those. It's right there.
You do?
Yeah. Love that. So fun.
We love it. Yeah. But I was super, super, super stressed out about the trip. And I remember talking to him about it and saying, like, almost in panic mode, like, how am I going to do this? Like, how are we going to go on this trip and I'm not going to drink? Like, I don't think I can do this. And knowing what I know now, I was clearly setting myself up for failure, but I just felt so panicked. Just like, I can't do this. I can't do it. There's no way. And my God, I love him to death. I'm sure eventually he was getting tired of hearing me say all this, because he was like, you're going to be okay. Like, just calm down. You're going to be fine. He's like, just have a glass of wine and then stop. And that's it. You can enjoy wine, but just don't go crazy, because he knows that I can take things to the extreme and whatnot. And so, and we probably talked about this like in the hotel before we went to dinner that night. And so I remembered sitting there in the booth, and I was like, okay, like, what am I going to order? Because I can't say that I want wine, because it's the first thing they ask you. What do you want to drink? Even though they don't say alcohol, but that's really what they mean. And I think I looked at my husband, because he had ordered first, and I heard him say the wine. And then I was like, okay, I'll take a glass. And it was just so fast and just so quick. And it was just like, all right, here we go. I'm having wine. And he basically, was kind of looking at me like, it's okay. You can have a glass of wine. Like, you're going to be okay. Don't stress out about it. And his big thing too was, telling me like, you can drink, just don't go to excess every night. And if you do go to excess and you feel bad, don't beat yourself up about it, and then go back to normal drinking. It's like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. We only stayed there for 3 nights, and each night my drinking escalated. So on the flight home from New York City, I was trying not to throw up in the airplane because I had such a bad hangover. So just in 3 nights, going from a couple of weeks of not drinking to then, okay, I'm going to start again, and I'm just going to try to have the 1 glass, that escalated all the way up to that. So it was pretty clear that yeah, this isn't working. Like, I can't have just a glass. It doesn't work that for me. And I think I remember coming home and still feeling bad even late in the day, but being like, well, I need some more wine because I'm just mad and stressed out. And I think I went a few more days of feeling like crap and still drinking like normal. And then I talked to my husband again and basically said, you can see what happened, right? You saw how I escalated so quickly. And I need to stop. Something meant right. And I just need to stop. And it did feel different. Something was a little bit different in my brain and stuff. And so that was November, and I ended up stopping. I stopped drinking, and we were able to go out to eat, and I didn't have a big deal. I wasn't super relaxed, but I wasn't like, going like this the whole time, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I felt like I had a little bit of a handle on it. So this was in November, but then that come January, we were going on a cruise with our daughter and a couple of other friends and their kids. And I'd never been on a cruise before, so I was excited, but in the back of my mind, I was a little bit nervous. Not like I was when we went to New York City, but I was still a little bit like, okay, am I really going to be able to do this? Like, we hadn't been on a major vacation yet. And and in a loud dining hall with a bunch of screaming kids and stuff. It's just like, I don't know, am I going to really be able to do this? But I know I can do it. I know I can do it. But oh man, I don't know. And it was weird because everything was fine during the day. It was the nighttime that was really hard. And the dinner table was hard. I mean, all the adults at the table were drinking wine. And they didn't really have anything else for me to drink. I can't, like, they didn't have a sparkling water, and I didn't really want caffeine, so I didn't want a Diet Coke. And so I can't even remember what I drank. So maybe I kind of felt like, I'm getting snubbed here. I don't have anything fun to drink. And when dinner was over, I do remember that internally I was really stressed, and I just wanted to just go to the room and just stay in the room and not do anything else. I mean, we did have to get our daughter to sleep, but because it was just those few hours there where I would always drink. And when you're on the cruise ship, it's just what everybody does. And so that was really hard. But then it was like, okay, well, once I know I get to the room, I'm in my pajamas and I'm fine. And there's no maybe temptation, if you will. But every night, this voice in my head was getting louder and louder at the table. This thing in my head was just saying, just drink wine. You want to. It was the weirdest thing. And so the last night I had wine, and then it didn't stop until I just stopped. So, and then I was just back in it. And the voice was so loud and just so crazy in my head. And it was all I could think about at the dinner table too. And it was like, what the hell? Like, why is it like this? Because I wasn't having these thoughts when we were having lunch or swimming or whatever. So I don't know. And then I was just back to drinking again. And then it was like, okay, well, I'm back in it. Then when we got home, it was back to the normal routine, I guess. And it feels like everything's fuzzy from then on. I kept searching, for more of the books and more of my God, what else did I get? I got a ton more audiobooks. I'd search as many as I could possibly find. Again, the juice plan thing. I got more memoirs from different people. I just kept looking for something. Doing races was still part of what we were doing, and that brought me joy and it brought me confidence, but then it would go away after a couple of days. And so then I just felt like, well, I don't know, like, how can I get this joyful feeling? But then at the same time too, it was just, I don't have a reason. I kept questioning myself, wondering, why do I feel like this? I have no reason to feel like this. Like, I shouldn't feel depressed or feel so low inside myself. There's just no reason. And still was not putting it together that it's the drinking. You're in that nasty cycle of you feel really bad, then you drink a whole lot, and then you're just back on the hamster wheel. I was never, ever, ever able to put it together. But again, I was still listening to everything and waiting for that aha moment, and it wasn't there. And then that was frustrating in itself, because I was listening to your podcast and really, really was drawn to people's stories, because I really just wanted to hear people talk. Mm-hmm. And listening to all the people that would be like, oh yeah, I read your book and I just stopped drinking and it was amazing. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is wrong with me? Like, I've read your book like 5 times and I've read, 8 others, and I'm still drinking. Like, I don't understand what's going on. And then that made me feel worse, and it made me want to drink more. And it just thought, there's just something wrong with me. Like, I can't stop. Like, I don't know what's going on. So that was just the cycle. It was just every day, every night, maybe a couple of times a week we would not drink. And that was because my husband said, let's just not drink. And whenever he said that, I would internally just be in panic mode. I'd be like, oh, come on, just change your mind. Like, we have to be able to drink. Please just say that we're going to go out to eat, because I knew if we went out to eat that we would definitely drink. And so if he said, well, no, we just need to take a break, which we did, I would still just be in panic mode until it's time to go to sleep. And just be like, why are we not drinking right now? I just couldn't relax. And I didn't know how to relax without the wine. I guess relax is the right word, even though it didn't relax you. But I mean, there were so many nights where he would go to sleep and I would finish drinking the wine, and he would tell me, don't you drink the rest of that bottle. Like, you need to pour that out. Or sometimes he would pour it out. And I would say to him, yeah, just pour it out. It's fine. And then in the back of my mind, I was like, why did I let him pour that out? Because I want it right now. I didn't need it. But there were so many moments, where it was like, why don't you just go to sleep? And I promise I won't drink it all. Or, well, I'll just drink a little bit more and pour the rest out. And of course I would finish it and feel like crap the next day. And I had numerous hangovers where like they were debilitating, where I just couldn't go to work. Not a ton, but it was pretty consistent that I would go to work and not feel good. But there would definitely be a few where it was like, I literally cannot get in the car. There's no way. Like, I have to go back to bed and close my eyes. But even having major ones like that and having such major headaches, I still, even though I knew I was hungover, it was still kind of like, well, I just must be really stressed out because the headache is so bad. I don't know what I was thinking, justifying to myself. So this past holiday, I was having a consistent, my consistent drinking patterns and hangovers like normal, and feeling yucky and this and that. And it was early December, and I remember, I think it was like a Thursday night, we drank, I drank, a decent amount of wine, and woke up Friday morning, nasty hangover. Because I remember going to work and signing Christmas cards and just feeling like, oh, like I gotta get fresh air. I need my chips. I need my drinks, whatever. But I'm signing Christmas cards and doing work and stuff. And then still drank that night and felt like crap. But because I felt like crap, I wanted to drink more, make myself feel better. Saturday, functioned as best I could, but still felt like crap all day long. And the whole dialogue inside my brain is negative to myself, throughout this whole time, of course. Saturday night, drank like normal, whatever. Sunday night, it seemed like I drank like normal, but we went out to eat for pizza and we'd always get wine. And then we stopped to get more on the way home. And I think we ended up just drinking more than we normally do, but I don't remember how much it was. I didn't think it was a big deal or that I would be affected by any of it. But then that Monday morning, woke up, and again, it was just the really, really nasty, okay, I think I can go to work. I'm sure I'll be fine. But then after my husband and my daughter left to go to school, I just thought, again, there's no way I can get in the car. Like, I'm just going to puke everywhere. Like, I just need to go back to bed. So I went back to bed. I remember I just turned my phone off and just went back to bed for a few hours. And then whenever I got up, I know I went straight to my phone. I literally remember there was a ping that there was a new podcast from you, and I just started listening to it while I was trying to get a snack or drink or whatever. And it was weird because there was like, I still felt really bad and was still frustrated with myself, but there was almost like this calm in my brain. And I just kind of was like, enough is enough. Like, this is it. This is ridiculous. Even though in the past I had written down on pieces of paper that I still have like in my closet and in my car, that I need to stop. And this is the good and the bad of alcohol. Like, there's a list in my car that I wrote years ago that's still there. And it's just these short little sentences of positive things. And that's what I felt like when I didn't drink. So like I've, tried to tell myself all that before, but there was just this weird calmness over me. And it was like, no, like, I'm done. This is it. I cannot continue this. And the way that I feel right now is not normal. And I can't do this anymore. And oddly enough, too, like when I was scrolling through Instagram and saw some cheesy, because there's so many people that post, all these cheesy little inspirational quotes and stuff. But I wrote it down and it's in my closet now. And of course, I can't remember it all. But it really resonated with me. And it was just basically like, you're not stuck. You can change. You can create new habits. You can not recreate yourself, but it's just basically, like, you're not stuck. The biggest thing is that you decide today and just don't look back. And for whatever reason, because I immediately wrote it down and listening to your podcast, it just in my brain, I was just like, I'm done. And there was no like anxiety about it. There was no stress about it. It was just, I'm done. And I can't do this anymore. And that's it. It's the last hangover I'm going to have. I can't even explain it. That's what's so weird, because it took me like freaking 4 to 5 years to figure it out. But
well,
I'm not able to.
Person 6 years, just so you know. So,
it did.
Yeah,
okay.
Like that. I read a study about that once, from the time somebody starts thinking that their drinking might be a problem to when they finally say, put it away for good, the average time. And this is without, input or interventions or books or whatever. It's like 6 years. So, but it gives me chills. That's so cool. And I mean, I really just appreciate you sharing this, because I think that so often the stories on the podcast are but then I was, it was immediate, and it was, and so I think this one is just going to so specifically resonate with people, because there's so many people who it wasn't immediate. And then there's some weird sense of shame over that. Like, well, it didn't work for me right away, or this didn't work for me right away, or I didn't get it together right away. And so we don't talk about it. Whereas like, I think this and your story of the ups and downs, and especially being so specific and vulnerable about them, which I really appreciate, is going to give so much hope, because it is not linear and it's not like you can't explain it. And sometimes it takes literally years of trying to like get the information into your brain before you're ready to like finally take action on it. I have a little bit of a framework I've kind of been developing around this since last October. And because I was really saying, well, why is it so quickly for some people, and why do other people struggle? And, you know, there's a bunch of different things to it that I've talked about in other podcasts. But one of the things, and after I developed this, I realized that it was from, like, I think it's Polchowski's 5 Steps of Change, very loosely mirrors it. But it's like this journey from being completely unaware that drinking is an issue, right? And you described that so well, of just having these moments of like, oh, but it must be the migraine. I must just be stressed. And like just this block in your brain saying, I'm not going to allow that drinking is an issue, because guess what? If it is an issue, and I remember this feeling so distinctly for me, if alcohol is the issue, alcohol feels like the only thing keeping my life together. So then where will I be? Like, I can't even conceptualize that. And so almost to protect myself, because if you imagine that you have this, like, a good example is actually having an abusive, like, spouse or boyfriend, right? Where you feel like they're everything in your life, and that your life, you can't even imagine life without them, and that they're so vital and so important. But so you can't say they're the issue. You can't say they're the ones making you miserable or unhappy, because what then? Like, there doesn't appear to be an alternative. So that's that, like, first stage of unawareness. And then you move into awareness. And the awareness is so painful, because it's where you're really caught in this, oh my gosh, it is an issue. And how am I going to deal with this? Because I don't see a way out. And that's where you start to, like, you know, it's almost, we resist awareness so much. And I always say that as painful as awareness is, no matter if it's, you know, from something of your awareness about the eating thing with Portia de la Rose's book, or it's always painful, but it should always also really truly be celebrated, because you can't change until you get to the awareness page. And then the knowledge is the next step 3. And knowledge is just, you, again, I have to share this because your journey just describes these steps so eloquently, but that's where you just started ingesting and inhaling information. I mean, you have this litany of literature that you got and podcasts, and it was just like, and you had to get it in, like, you had to get it in, and you're like, but it's not working, it's not working. But the knowledge part is so important. It's so foundational, and often it doesn't feel like it's working, but what you did is just keep pushing forward with that. And then the next step 4 is, I just call it action. And it's where you're starting to actually do things alcohol free. And so I love this step too, because you're like, okay, I'm going to try this for a few weeks, and then I'm going to go to New York and see how it feels. And each one of those, although it feels like a backslide, you're actually going forward. It's just that you don't see it in the moment, because you're learning, your brain is learning, okay, well, 1 glass of wine doesn't work for me. Well, even the last night of a cruise, it didn't work for me, you know, and every step there is really helping you to do that. And I think the next step, which you're moving very quickly towards, is just mastery. And I'd say it probably took me at least a year to really get to a point of, like, absolute irrelevance in my life. And it might have been closer to 2 years where it was just like total freedom, because you have to go through every new thing. We just went on an all-inclusive vacation. It was the first time we'd been on an all-inclusive vacation in probably 7 years. It was the first one we did without drinking. And it was still, even 5 years later, it was still like, oh, it's a new thing. I still have to navigate a new thing. And it made alcohol, I was thinking the whole first day I was there, I was thinking about alcohol more than I have in years, because it was like, wow, am I getting my money's worth? Like, this is crap. Like, really? And you know, weird thoughts like that. I'm like, who is this? Why am I here? Again, just kind of like, it is a new thing. And so I think mastery really comes, you have to, you know, just solid action and understanding that, you know, no matter what comes, you're done. So now you just get to navigate all these new experiences. So anyway, I wanted to share that just because your story just really followed that. I call it the path, and it just followed that path really beautifully. And it's just such a good example of, I think, the stages people literally have to go to. And I'd say that for anybody listening, like, if you find yourself at any of those stages, you know, celebrate it, because every stage is a step towards mastery, which is what I define mastery as, is just effortless enjoyment of the change. It means you're effortlessly just enjoying life at a new level of awareness, of intuition, of presence, of satisfaction, of finally living completely congruent with who you are, which, you know, waking up with peace. And I mean, just really enjoying it without the effort, because all the 4 stages before, they take effort. It's efforting, you have to effort to, reading books is efforting. The New York trip or the 5 days before you actually had the drink the last day of the cruise, that's efforting. And even the drinking is efforting, because those lessons are coming with you being very cognitively aware of like weighing everything. But anyway, I love your story. And thank you so much for sharing it.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And right now, for sure, because I mentioned earlier about how I don't like talking about my feelings. And obviously I was really, really used to even just within myself, not wanting to feel my feelings. And I've been clearly a lot more acutely aware of, well, I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling stressed out. And that's when I would normally reach for wine. And I don't want wine now, but I'm understanding, I'm starting to understand myself a little bit more, which, sometimes kind of sucks, because all those nasty feelings, I was just so used to numbing away, even though it's within myself, but you're just used to, well, I'm just going to numb it and just ignore it. Like, let's just ignore it. But now, I'm trying, it's a process, but, I'm trying to be like, okay, why do I feel like this? Maybe I need to go for a walk, or I'll walk the dog, or what can I do, with my daughter to take my mind off of it, or something like that. So
that's awesome. It is absolutely a process, for sure. So let me ask you the question that I always sort of end these with is like, what would you tell Molly of, a few years ago, or even whenever she was really struggling with this and felt like, okay, everybody else is getting it and I'm not getting it. Like, what's wrong with me? Like, what encouragement would you give her? What would you tell her about what it's like now?
Probably that there is an end to all of this, and to just keep pushing along. Like, it sucks right now and it's hard, but just keep pushing. You're gonna find the light at the end of the tunnel. You're used to pushing and running, or pushing and biking, so just think of it like that. Just keep pushing and you're gonna be okay. There is an end.
I love that. It's so good. It's such good advice. And again, thank you so much, Molly, for sharing your story. I think it's just really powerful, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Have a wonderful day. Yeah,
you too. Thank you.
Hi, are you looking to connect with like-minded people? Sometimes maybe you feel like, as someone who knows all this information from This Naked Mind or the alcohol experiment, that you're living in a world of muggles and people just don't speak your language. That is why I created The Exchange. The Exchange is an online community where we meet face-to-face, live video calls multiple times a week with people from all over the globe, just to connect, to have somewhere you're seen and you're heard and you feel less alone, and really that you can give back and get the support you need. So if this sounds great to you, check it out at thisnakedmind.com/exchange. And as always, rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast, as it truly helps the message reach somebody who might need to hear it today.